Please do smile, really.
Don't ever say that. Don't break character. There you go. Thank you.
No digging, damn it! So, welcome.
Thank you.
We're so glad that you're here. It's fun. You having a good time here?
Yeah, it's been fun. Definitely an experience. I never thought I'd be part of this sort of thing when I started this whole journey, but
That's not
no,
the
it's
thing
been fun. Everyone's been really, really great.
That's not the thing they tell you when you sign a contract.
Yeah,
Just gonna film this
no,
thing.
you're gonna run security and try and figure out what the hell you're even guarding against, and then next thing you know, you're standing in line with people dressed up as you name it. So,
So I'm going to ask a pretty easy question. Well, it might be easy for me, but how did you get started in all this? Like, did you know what was really going on there at the time that you started? You've been with them for longer than they were doing the Skinwalker stuff?
oh yeah.
Okay.
So that's a great question. So the owner of the Skinwalker Ranch, Brandon Fugel, he and I have been friends for about 30 years. So as those of you that follow may know, or they think they explained a little bit on the TV show, but it was owned previously for about 20 years by a man named Robert Bigelow, who owns Bigelow Aerospace in Las Vegas. And he learned about it because the Sherman family that was currently ranching the property started talking about having some of their prized cattle mutilated and all kinds of strange things, seeing craps in the air, things of that nature. So it piqued his interest, and then pretty much after that, it all kind of got locked down and kept under lock and key. We've learned that, they got upwards of $20 million of government funding to study the phenomenon.
Wow.
Don't know how much of that made it into the ranch, because when the keys were handed over in 2016, it was basically the command center was a broken down old double wide trailer that looked like it was more of a rat house than it was a frat house. So yeah, and then none of the information was shared. It was basically like, here, it's your baby, take it over. Yeah, go ahead.
You get to start over at square one, basically.
Pretty much square one, which in the beginning was frustrating because it's like, where do we go from here? But as Eric Bard, our principal investigator, has said, you know what? It's been nice to have a clean slate so that we can come to our own conclusions and we're not chasing around stories in the dark. Because literally we were handed a book of stories. There's the Hunt for the Skinwalker book that has some pretty fantastic stories in it, and to me that's kind of what they are. But anyway, sorry, fast forward, 2016, my friend Brandon comes to me and says, hey look, I'm looking at buying this ranch in near Vernal, Utah, in the middle of nowhere. It's 512 acres, and I looked at him and I said, you don't even own a pair of jeans. What are you going to do with 512 acres in the middle of nowhere? Because I'd never really heard of Skinwalker Ranch. And so he's like, no, it's got all these stories and everything. I want to buy it. I have this opportunity. This guy's done with it. He says it's ruining his life. I mean, Mr. Bigelow, and he's gone on record saying that he feels like what he brought back from Skinwalker Ranch, the old hitchhiker, like ultimately is what caused his wife's death and things of that nature. Like he was just ready to wash his hands of it and be done with it. So I'm like, okay, well, is this Brandon's a real estate guy. I'm like, is this an investment or is this a toy? And he's like, it's a toy. I'm like, okay, you spend your money on what you want. I don't care, but you're gonna have to get something other than a Lamborghini to drive out there because you're not gonna make it. So, okay, I'll buy a helicopter. Anyway, whatever. So anyway, that's how I got introduced to it. Like I said, Brandon and I are friends. I've done some private security work for him in his professional life, and he thought that it would be a good fit there, and he knows I can fix all kind of stuff and things like that. So really, it was just, went out there and I immediately fell in love with the place. It's beautiful, the mesas, everything. I felt like it was working in a Western movie, but driving around ATVs instead of horses, and yeah, that's pretty much, I didn't know anything about it. I'd never had any experiences, so I went in with open-minded to the possibility that there was something to it, but probably more of a skeptic than anything.
So was there a point when you start hearing the stories, like when you told about Mr. Bigelow and his wife, that you were like, maybe I'm not supposed to be here?
That's another good question. Like I said, I thought, okay, whatever. Sounds like bullshit to me. Excuse me. Yeah, sorry. children present. Okay, sorry.
That's not the worst we've heard this.
I know. I came from the ranch. You know, we're a bunch of dudes out there. I'm sorry. I said, you know, sounds like some BS, but you know. And then I got handed this book, and I read these stories, and I was like, dang. I don't want some wolf to come up that I can shoot 10 times and not have it die or something like that, you know, that's in the book and things like that. But, you know, so, yeah, did I sleep with my pistol under my pillow for the first little while? I did, just because I didn't know. So, yeah, like I said, it was stories, but for the longest time, I never felt anything but peace and good things there. And you know, it continued my skepticism. I would be out there for weeks and months on end, and then I'd leave to go visit my children or something like that, and while I was gone, you gotta see what we picked up on the security cameras, you gotta see this. I'm like, what the hell? So for the longest time, they called me the phenomenon repellent for quite a bit. But now, since then, yeah, I've had some experiences where I think I went from a skeptic to a believer because I trust the people that I work with there, and then now to an experiencer.
Well, you guys are trying to more scientifically prove things than just, you know, you see shows where they're like chasing stuff in the woods. It's like, did you hear that? There must be a ghost over there. You know,
Right.
You guys seem like you're actually trying to, all right, we're going to check this quadrant here, and we're going to look and see and set cameras up and do all that stuff. So, you know, I could easily become a believer watching something because there's some basis in fact. You know, there's conjecture to what it could be. You know.
Right. I appreciate so much. Well, we've got I think we've got a good mix between Eric Bard, who his favorite line that he ever says is, "I'm not here to believe, and I'm not here to disbelieve. I'm here to observe." And that's what he does. He takes that approach to everything, and he will never make a claim or a statement until he has vetted it like to the umpteenth degree. And it drives Brandon crazy because I mean we've picked things up on the security cameras where it looks like this orb shows up and travels the length of the property in a split second and everything. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is so incredible. And then on further review, with the infrared cameras and a snowstorm, a snowflake can look like the most amazing UFO you've ever seen. Eric has coined the term snorbs for those instead of orbs, right? Because it does, it just, but that's just it. You know, that's the nice thing about having a clean slate. We're not out there to like sensationalize. What people need to know is, yes, it is a TV production that is put out there for entertainment purposes, but before we ever agreed to do it, Brandon is 50% owner in that production, and he said, I will not put anything out there that is not true. It may seem amazing. We're not here to make things up. This is going to be a scientific investigation. It's led by the scientific method. And in fact, going more into that, you know, everybody knows our good friend Travis Taylor. Good old Travis. Oh, come on, Dragon. You know, that's I hear that all the time. But when we first met Travis, he was brought in, you know, you've probably seen him on other things like Ancient Aliens and the Tesla Files and things like that. So he, not only that, he's a very accredited, I mean, he has 3 PhDs, multiple master's degrees. I mean, he's a rocket scientist. And when we first met him to become part of the production and the team of investigators, like, he did not ingratiate himself to us very well. Like, we met with him the first time, he's like, you know, first off, I gotta tell y'all, I think y'all are batshit crazy. Like, it's a place. There ain't nothing going on out there that you can't explain away with science. And I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna prove that it's all natural phenomenon that can be explained away by science. And within, I don't know, a couple of days, he was like, man, I can't figure that out. What's going on here? And he was like, is that a UFO? You know, UFO to him was a UFO. So, but at the end of the day, like, the greatest thing is seeing is his 180 and things. He's gone from being the biggest skeptic that was there to prove us wrong and puff his chest out to, that place humbled him in a hurry. He doesn't sleep at night without nightmares. He hears things in his trailer. He's had strange injuries and, you know, health issues that can't be explained. There's no trace to him from that place. And it almost feels like the place has a personality. It's like, oh yeah, you're gonna come in here, I'm gonna knock you down a peg. But But it's been really interesting. So now he's all in, and you guys are going to be blown away. Season 4 comes out middle of April, 14 episodes this time, and the level of equipment and things that we do for the scientific investigation is next level. I mean, we're talking super high-end stuff, and there's still things that are, they're either gonna excite you or they're gonna scare you. So,
Well, I think your credibility level is there because it sounds like you're not afraid to debunk yourself.
not at all.
Yeah.
No,
Some
absolutely.
shows won't ever show you that stuff. They're just showing you the weird stuff they see, and it's like you got to know how to get there. You know.
Yeah. Hey, when it comes to working with television people, there's been many times where we'll be watching something. They're like, "What do you think that is?" I'm like, "Well, if I think about it, it could be this. I had a laser pointer," and they're like, "Son of a God, why'd you have to say that?" Sort of, because we don't want to put fake things out there. So we definitely bet, and there's a lot of stuff that I know that they wish that they could put out there and that would excite people. But at the end of the day, we want it to be real and authentic, and what we find is real. Yes, there's music that's going to keep people excited and bum 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 moments and things like that. But really, at the end of the day, the results and the things that we put out there are 100% genuine. None of it is fabricated or fake.
I love the one where you go into the commercial and it's like, "Oh my God, what's that coming up?" And then it's
Yeah.
like, "It's a rapper."
Yeah.
They really know how to-
Everybody remembers the first season where the end of the first episode, "Eric, do you have the case?" And he opens up the case and then it doesn't show what's in it, and everyone's, I got so many references to the movie Seven. I don't know if you remember that. What's in the effing box? So they do that. Like I said, it's a TV program, but it is based in science, and it's definitely there to get that information out.
So, have you guys since been able to see any of the previous research at all?
No, nope.
And you wouldn't even want to look at it?
Well, I mean, like if there was something tangible and something real that would help us maybe understand or maybe corroborate some of the things that we've discovered and be like, okay, yeah, these guys had this same thing happen, the same thing, but it's been very, very kept under lock and key and close to the vest. And so, we have our opinions as to why, but I don't want to get in trouble.
So really, you guys are kind of like the second set of eyes that are looking at this, so like a corroborate.
And I can tell you the equipment that we've deployed and the way that we've gone about it, like it far surpasses. We've had people from the Bigelow era and things like that come on. They said we never had anything remotely close to this. Now, obviously, technology has advanced, which helps with that. But the investment that Mr. Fugel has put into the place, all privately funded by himself, because he doesn't want to have to answer to anybody else. He wants to be able to just say, "Hey, it's my stuff. I can tell you guys about it." So that's how it's gone.
So is the ranch always locked up? Like right now,
It is.
Nobody can get on it.
That's correct.
It's not a
Yes.
tourist attraction or anything.
Yeah,
I
no.
bet there's lots of people wanting to get in.
Oh, there's plenty. That's my job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're not on camera,
Hmm?
you got to turn people away all the time.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I mean, it's hard. Like, it's 512 acres
Right.
that's surrounded by Native American land, and then, it's a barbed wire fence. To try and fully secure that 100%,
It costs more than the budget.
it's an effort. But, with that, it takes a lot of work. So I've got myself and my security team that, we have to keep eyes on, and we've gotten better assets too that help us, not have to be there on foot. Because we used to play, at first, people love to play cat and mouse, where one person would be one part of the ranch with a flashlight, and someone else would be there, and we'd be running around like crazy. So, but like I said, we've got some cool stuff being deployed that you'll see some of that really has helped us in those efforts, as well as trying to figure out, okay, was that a deer, was that a bug, or was that something more interesting?
Have you had any problems with people trying to set stuff up for you to catch out there that it's like they're messing with you and it's like, oh, look at the weird lights?
Not so much. Yes, I mean, laser pointers from neighboring properties, like trying to burn out our cameras and do things like that. But, sometimes it's just normal traffic on some of the oil field roads that are around. We'll hit something on the mesas. We've gone through, can't tell you how many places I've driven with a spotlight to try and make sure that what that glow on the mesa wasn't the headlights from a truck.
Right.
or something like that.
I'm sure with productions I notice a lot of boring, just normal stuff going on, and then what we see is like the best of the, exciting stuff that's going on, and then some of the description of what you're looking for.
Yeah, and it's frustrating. We'll watch the episodes because, ultimately they want to make it appeal to a broad audience. You've got the people that are very enthusiastic about it, and then you've got people that are just entertained. And so they kind of cater, and it is frustrating because there's things that we find extremely interesting or important that maybe they don't think is sexy for television.
Right.
So with that, that's another thing. I'll give a shameless plug here. We have what is our Skinwalker Ranch Insider website now, where people that are really interested want to know a little bit more. They want to find out what went into the science, what went into the experiments, because the hours that go into some of those that they show 2 minutes of, let's plug that in and shoot a rocket, y'all. Right?
It's setting everything up.
Right. There's a lot that goes into it, and the instrumentation, the countless hours that go into it. So we've created that where people that are really interested, not only can they learn more about that stuff, but we also give access to watching the security camera feeds, and people have been incredible. We have a community now and an online spreadsheet where we've had many of our viewers that are awake all hours of the night all over the world watching, that will pick things up and they'll document, and then we can go back and vet them, and it's helped a lot. We've found some strange things, and then we've been able to say, well, that was a shooting star, it looks cool, but that's what it is. So it's been fun for people. People seem to enjoy that element, and they're more hands-on. We communicate with them. We do weekly, Q&As where the team gets together virtually or together and answers questions and stuff like that. So it's been fun to have that outlet, because that's been our frustration too. I'll go on, after the show airs, sometimes I'll go on radio interviews or podcasts and like, well, what about this, and this? I'm like, oh no, here's what we did. And they're like, that makes more sense. But, we figured by the time we were done filming, they use less than 1% of what's filmed to make the 42 minutes of television that show on a weekly basis.
I can imagine with TV contracts, whether you guys find a mothership of invading alien army. Oh, we gotta wait till next season to show that.
Nope, we're not doing that. No, that's one thing. That's one thing that Brandon will not do. They're like, yeah, we know if you guys really find something that you're gonna hang on to it and stretch this out, and we're not doing that.
No, it's like, here's a press conference.
If the mothership is under the mesa and we pull it out of there next season, then I guess we're done. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure there's other areas in the world that have weird phenomenon you can go check.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it is, yes, obviously Skinwalker Ranch has been documented for a long time for this sort of phenomenon and high strangeness. But, you'd be crazy to think that it's all confined to 512 acres of barbed wire fence. The whole Uinta Basin, that area, is just, it's known as UFO Alley for some reason. I don't know if it's, the geography of the place, the way it's shaped almost like a satellite dish, if it's, just the electromagnetic stuff there. I don't know if it has something to do with the Native American stuff that happened there. It's like a petri dish. Everyone wants to talk about the UFOs and things like that, but there's so much more going on there that, is really interesting to me, that I've had experiences with that far exceed seeing a UFO.
Right. Well, it could also be like scientifically we just haven't seen that combination of minerals and things on
Right.
the spot, and we're learning something new, and it causes things like that affect the human mind or whatever.
Absolutely.
So has anyone got any questions? That's lots of people starting to line up there. So if you want to mind getting in front of the microphone there and going. I saw you.
You were standing there for a while. You got to get your payoff that I already answered the question. You just got bored with me and sat down. All right.
All right, come on up.
You all seem to have a whole lot of fun with the rockets and looking for stuff at a mile up. Has anybody thought about tethering a balloon at a 1 mile altitude so it's stationary? You put your stuff there?
So we've tried weather balloon experiments. They only will allow you to leave an unmanned craft in the air for a certain amount of time without it violating, certain regulations and stuff like at that height. A mile up is too high for that. But I'll just say because, until the season comes out, NDA, I like where you're going with the balloon thing. Just leave it.
I understand it's probably not the best time to put a balloon up.
The balloon is an ice ball right now. I literally, the timing of this, I left 18 inches of fresh snow for 18 inches of white sandy beach and 78 degrees. I was not unhappy to come this way.
So I know at one point in time there was a show called Blind Frog Ranch. It was close to.
They like to say so.
Oh, well, that was my question because I didn't know. Was it that close to you guys, or was it?
No, there is a place called Blind Frog Ranch. They like to say nearly adjacent to. Well, if 45 miles away is nearly adjacent to, then I guess that you could call it. It is within the Uinta Basin. I don't necessarily want to speak to their stuff. It's kind of like, how it goes. Something gets popular and then everyone wants to piggyback it a little
But it was
bit.
like the way they said it was like it backed up. To
Oh,
it.
no,
That's why I was
not at all.
Now, just jumping on for me, 'cause I will admit I haven't watched a lot of the show. I did watch season 1. How far away are you from, say, Area 51 or something? Is it like halfway across the
It's,
west? Or?
no, so Area 51 is in, Nevada, and no, it's probably 10 or 12 hours away.
Okay. That was just me. Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Hey, I have 2 questions if that's okay.
Sure.
First one is for my dad, and he wanted to know how you got the nickname Dragon.
Okay.
And the second one is for me, and just wondering if you've had any injuries or unexplained injuries from causes from the ranch.
So I'll answer the first question first. Fortunately, no. The thing about the ranch is it seems to react to different individuals differently. I've been standing right next to somebody that's literally gone into a catatonic state or had feel like their head's going to explode or feel like they're in an MRI machine or anything, and I'm like, dude, what's wrong with you? Type of a thing, So fortunately for me, knock on wood, I have not. Like I said, they call me the repellent a little bit. So no, I haven't had any injuries. The Dragon nickname, I'll make this a short answer to kind of a longer answer. During the Bigelow era, he used to employ kind of degenerate former military people to lock down the place, and they kind of had a bad reputation. One of those, apparently, I never met the gentleman, had the codename Dragon. Okay, so fast forward to when Mr. Fugle bought the ranch, there was an individual that has a big online following and presence with the ranch that used to sneak on all the time, was kind of known as public enemy number 1. Mr. Fugle, in his wisdom, actually had the guy sign a non-disclosure, but invited him onto the ranch. He was like, yeah, I get invited on. Well, now we own him a little bit. He can't put just nonsense out there. But with that, we didn't know anything about him, so I was told to kind of be a bit of a hard ass when he showed up. So I did, put on that beautiful smile that I give all the time on the show. And anyway, needless to say, he wasn't the greatest guest. And so as he came on, I kind of gave him a hard time. He got in the vehicle with Jim Morse, the guy with the cowboy hats and the vest. Uncle Jim, where there's smoke, there's fire guy, right? Anyway, and he's like, man, what's the story with that security guy? He's like, hey, he takes this seriously. This isn't a playground, it's an important thing. He's like, well, is that the guy they call Dragon? And him not knowing any better, he's like, oh yeah, he's the real deal. So fast forward, he goes back, gets online, blogs about how this Dragon guy was an a-hole to him, and then other keyboard warriors get online, oh yeah, that guy's chased me off the ranch, firing his gun at me all these times, and none of that's ever happened. And so it got this big thing. Well, then Brandon, knowing me since we were kids, was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard. So he started referring to me as Dragon, introduced me as Dragon, his head of security to the production company, and boom, 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 that's where we are today.
Thank you.
So you'll never hear me refer to myself as, hi, nice to meet you, I'm Dragon. So it's not a self-given nickname, but I'm kind of stuck with it.
You hit on some of the injuries. They seem to correlate when there's a bombardment of all those radiation and everything, the meters go up. I know this is gonna sound like a really weird question, but has there been a thought of maybe making portable Faraday cages to protect people out there?
So we line our hats with, Faraday cloth so that
Okay.
our heads don't get fried too much. I'm not wearing tinfoil underwear anymore, but I'm done having kids, so I'm fine. Fry that area out, I'm good. Yes, we have talked about, and that's why when things happen, we put them in that silo.
Yeah.
Because it does act as a Faraday cage, and we've talked about trying to figure out, ultimately we're going to have to build a new command center. We've put lipstick on that pig of a trailer for a long time, and we'd like to be able to, but again, it's self-funded. It's a lot of money and investment, but when we do that, we'll build it with the walls lined like a Faraday cage to try and protect, because we have equipment destroyed all the time.
I see that, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just wondering about that. So
Yep.
one guy's head.
Oh yeah, Tom almost died from that, and we still to this day there's no medical explanation as to what happened to him.
I got a quick question, then we'll go back to them.
Sure.
So, this project would be ongoing whether there's a show or not. It's something that's.
It is a 24/7, 365 scientific investigation. Like I said, you can watch that yourselves.
Right.
I mean,
So,
it's going on all the time.
TV helps fund the project.
It helps fund some of the bigger experiments that we want to try,
Right.
because that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And things like, but everything else like the security assets, the vehicles, all that different kind of stuff, that's 100% privately funded by Mr. Fugel. I mean, it is a labor of love to him, and he's hell bent on trying to figure out what's going on.
That's awesome. All right, go ahead.
Hi.
Has anyone ever dressed up and pretending to be on something?
To pretend like there's like a Bigfoot or a Skinwalker or something like that on the ranch. I haven't seen that. We've seen people sneaking around doing things that kind of get us wondering what's going on, but I haven't seen anybody in a suit yet.
Spoiler alert.
Thank you for asking the question. I love that.
So I have two questions.
Sure.
So in season 4, y'all gonna have more rockets?
Oh,
in the air and
is
everything?
Travis Taylor there? Oh, we launched plenty of rockets. Yeah.
I'm sure there's no more big explosions from the big ones.
Yeah, that was such a disappointment. I mean, the amount of money that went into that experiment and the equipment that was destroyed in it. Like, there was thousands of dollars of measuring equipment that was supposed to go up, and it's all in bits and pieces now. So,
Do y'all plan on actually like digging into the mesa? Like actually going up in there and...
No spoilers.
stay tuned. Yeah. Sorry, it's definitely an area of interest that we're going to look into. Yeah.
He's going to open his briefcase and then come back next year.
Yeah, we're good.
This might sound stupid, but you ever thought about using film photography, like infrared film, or to see if it gets
Old school film?
Yeah.
Yes, we have. That was one of the things that we did get out of the stories from the Bigelow era that's in the book that George Knapp wrote, along with Colm Kelleher, who was the scientist there, that them talking about their film, they'd take a bunch of pictures of stuff and they'd go and develop it, and it was like either wiped or had been exposed or something like that. So yeah, we've done some of that, but like I said, stay tuned. So, yep, thank you. That's not a dumb question at all.
So I have like an easy one and a hard one.
Okay.
The easy one, do you guys joke with Dr. Taylor about how his hair grows?
Oh, all the time, all the time. Yeah.
Hard.
Oh, are you kidding me? If you guys, I wish so bad that there was like a blooper reel or like reel back, because like I said, when people, I'm not always walking around going, no. I mean, we cut up all the time, and like I give him so much crap all the time. So yeah, I'll look at him, I'm like, damn dude, is that a shocking experience for you or what? You know, so now Travis, that's the other thing is, yes, Travis was an acquired taste because of the way he came into things, but I'll tell you what, he is a brother, and he and I are really close friends, and you know, we don't hate each other. I still have to put him in his place sometimes, and he doesn't like that. Oh, come on, Dragon. You know what I mean, type of a thing. But we're a very cohesive team. It's a brotherhood. We call it the ranch family because that's how we feel. We've been through a lot together, and we're all engaged in the same work. But yeah, we give each other a hard time, and that's what family does, right?
So my second question is, so you kind of seem like kind of weird about the UFOs, but I was just curious how you feel about like the more paranormal stuff with Homestead 2. Like, do you, like, is it like, have you experienced like the ghost stuff that I know has been on a few shows?
Yeah. You know, I haven't had a lot, like I said, some people have had a ton of experiences, like Tom has, like, for whatever reason, witnessed and experienced a lot. But yeah, I've had a couple of experiences. The first experience I ever really had that was out of the norm for me, Caleb and I were staying in the command center before, you know, we renovated and stuff, and we were in bedrooms at one end of at the end of the trailer, and you know, I was just sitting there on my phone scrolling through these. All of a sudden, it felt like my kids on three sides came and ran into the side of my bed. I was like shaking. My kids aren't out there with me, just so you know. So it was like, I was like, the hell? Like, it literally shook my bed. So I went walking in the other room, and I said, Caleb, were you up stomping around, you big oaf? I felt my bed shake. He's like, what are you talking about? I just been laying here. I'm like, well, this happened. He's like, okay. So I went back, got in bed, and 5 minutes later, he comes in, he looked like Kermit the Frog. His eyes were like this big. He's like, dude, that same thing just happened to me. So, being the brave security guys where we pulled our mattresses into the middle of the living room, slept next to each other. So, yeah. So,
lights on in the kitchen.
So yes, between that and then being around the homesteads, I've had the feeling where all the hair on my body stands on end, and I've got to get the hell out of there. We've had guests out there that have seen shadow figures moving in and out of the doorways and things like that. So yeah, it's like I said, it's interesting. A lot of people like to focus on, you know, the unidentified aerial phenomenon, if you will, but there's a lot within the realm and scope of things based on, you know, where it's located that goes on there.
So is there kind of an attitude when you first get there, like you're expecting to see some paranormal stuff, so you might look at things like, oh, and then it's like a normal, and then it kind of goes away, and then you start getting used to the weird stuff?
It depends. Yes and no. There's a lot of individuals that think, hey, I'm going to take a trip to Skinwalker Ranch and see a UFO and call it a weekend. It doesn't work that way. You're kind of always wondering because of all the history there, but like I said, most of the time it's just a peaceful, cool ranch, and then it's that other 10% that makes you really feel like your mind's been put in a blender a little bit.
So in that respect, you really notice something because everything's so calm all the time.
Yeah, but then you know, there's little things like coincidences that you want to chalk up to a coincidence. I'm such a practical thinker, and you know, that I'm like, yeah, I'm going to try to figure out like a common explanation for it, and you kind of catch yourself doing that a little bit. But when you go back and put the pieces together, then you realize like that's not the case. No.
Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, I was just wondering what you personally thought was going on at the ranch, and is there a general consensus amongst your group of what might be going on?
That is a good question. I do have my own opinion about it. Personally, the way that I think about things, I think that there's obviously other intelligences out there. Do I believe necessarily that they're little gray men in saucers that are coming down from, you know, Alpha Centauri or something like that? To me, the way that these things come and go, the way that there's big bursts of energy, I think it's more of an interdimensional phenomenon. For whatever reason, that area, the base and things like that, lends itself to the right combination of things to where maybe, you know, those realms are a little bit thinner there. But there's definitely an intelligence at play there, 100%. There's too many things that almost know what we're doing before we do it to thwart our efforts, because maybe we're getting a little bit close that we can't explain. And like I said, things show up like that and then they're gone like that too. So for me, that's my own personal take on it.
Also, I wanted to just say, as an insider, I don't know if you could pass along to Eric. He will spend hours on like Discord talking to us. He's really very generous with his time. I mean, as all of you are, but I just want to say that's really awesome.
Thank you. Thanks for being an insider too. Is it worth it?
Oh yeah.
All right, see? It's worth it. No, you guys have been amazing. You guys have been amazing. We appreciate that. And I don't know if you were on the other night when we were talking, but you're right. You're part of the team. When Brandon told you that you guys are all part of the team, you are. Like having thousands of eyes out there watching and helping and lending insights that we maybe don't think about has been invaluable. So it's really a cool thing.
I bet it also helps the production crew too, because you got all that footage and all those cameras.
Oh.
Somebody points you to a time frame and it just,
Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of security footage that has to be looked through and gone through, and every time a bug flies by the camera, it sends an alert, and we got to go through and make sure, okay, that was a bird, that was a bug, something else. So yeah, it's been an invaluable asset for us.
That's awesome. All right.
Yep.
It seems like 1.6, right?
1.6 gigahertz, y'all. Yep. Hey, we got that 1.6 signal again. Let's fire a rocket. Get a rocket ready.
You got like a barn full of rockets?
Oh, yes we do. Half the budget is rockets.
The finding out was when the rabbi was out. They did like the harmonics. Has there been any thought of combining harmonics with that 1.6 gigahertz to like, let's put these two things together and see what happens?
Yep, we've been working on all that stuff. So stay tuned. Yeah.
See, I do.
So when you guys are planning out an experiment, I'm assuming that like you guys meet. Well, I don't know if you guys are doing it season by season because you're out there all the time, right? So it's like, this didn't work, let's try this. You plan it for a while and then try to do the experiment, and you're just kind of not caring what the production crew, they're just going to catch what you're doing.
Yeah, so that's the other thing is we made it abundantly clear that we get to lead the narrative. We're not following a script. We're not going to do what, like, before production happens, we have long meetings of saying, okay, here's what, during the block of time that we're allowing you guys to be guests here, these are the things that we're going to do, and so figure out how to make TV out of it.
So the blocks of times that they're not there, you're doing other stuff.
We're doing all kinds of stuff. Like, you're going to be blown away. And we gave a little bit of a teaser to the insiders, the equipment that's being deployed on a level that it's unprecedented. Like, we're talking a mammoth investment in stuff that is going to be able to figure things out on its own, if you will. It is top level military grade, if you will. I don't like that term necessarily, but that's where like the technology goes first. Right. You know how that goes. We get it 20 years later.
NASA gets it, makes it
but it's game changing. Yeah.
So the Air Force shot your stuff down.
No, we're not flying stuff around. We're trying to figure out what's flying around with us. But let me put it this way. I've seen these mysterious helicopters show up that look awfully military in the middle of the night sometimes. So
keeping an eye on what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're always wearing black.
Yeah, it sucks. Thanks, Brandon. Yeah, I know. I give him crap about it all the time. I'm like,
when I was in the Army and been around the world, and I just see
oh yeah.
I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, hey, listen. So one thing you need to know about Mr. Fugel is he is a pop culture junkie and a child of the 80s. Like, if you could see his collection of movie paraphernalia, it'd blow your mind. But he loves that sort of thing. So when he bought this mysterious ranch and said, hey, I want you to come head up security, head over to 511 Tactical. I've already told them that you're coming, go pick up your stuff. I mean, he makes me look like the indescript Bond, James Bond guy that gets run over or shot that no one ever heard of type of a thing. But that's kind of how, you know, he likes the mysterious type of thing. So that's how it was. Like, this is what I wore when, you know, we'd have people come out. It's kind of the uniform. And once you've done it, like, there's a thing in TV called continuity. That, like, once you've done that, it's pretty much, that's the question. Why do they wear the same clothes every day? Well, it's because, like, if we're filming something, you know, they don't want to be like, hey, wait a minute, why are you wearing something different than this? Because, you know, there's a little bit of editing there as far as, you know, some of that kind of stuff. But yeah, it sucks. 100 degrees in this shit is not fun. Yeah.
So when they're not filming, you're wearing like other stuff, right?
I wear this, I mean, it's fine this time of year, you know? But yeah, I'm not necessarily always dressed up like the undescript, unnamed guard number 6 in the Bond movie that died. Yeah.
At that point, you just need a good scar.
Yeah, there you go.
Somewhere that shoots lasers or something.
Yeah.
All right, does anyone have any other questions? Well, okay, go ahead.
October 18th, 2020, SkyWatchTV.com announced that CERN expected to make contact with a parallel dimension that is that kind of come up with your theory of the interdimensional?
I'd have to go back and check that date to see if we experienced anything at that timeline. But yeah, we'll check it out for sure.
I'm just saying that was 2 years ago. I mean,
Right.
I mean, if you're building cars, 2 years worth of R&D.
Right.
Probably gotten better at it.
Yep, for sure. Go ahead. I've never seen a Skinwalker myself, no. Nope. I don't want to.
It just,
That's a good question.
Would you recognize it if you saw it?
Well, it depends on which form it's in, right? If it's really a dire wolf that's this big, I would think probably that's not supposed to be here. But would I aim down on it and shoot it? Not unless it's coming after me. No. I'd probably take my cell phone out and take pictures of it and maybe back away and be like, hey, all good here. I'm good.
Have you ever thought about maybe, hey, sit down and have a meal with me?
Oh, there you go.
I mean, that's how we know something.
Right.
Let's share.
You know, and that's the other thing. People are like, well, what do you carry guns for? What are you gonna do? Shoot aliens or shoot like look, it's wilderness. We have big mountain lions. We've had bears on the property, coyotes, and unfortunately the most dangerous creature on earth, the two-legged creature that you never know. I mean, there's a lot of people that come to the ranch and feel like it's their right or that they're drawn there and that they deserve to be there. Doesn't quite work that way. So yeah, no, I'm not out to shoot aliens, but it's my job as security to make sure that I protect the people that are there from whatever may come along. So, yeah.
well, it sounds like from aliens to phenomenon to skinwalkers, God knows what else, you've got your work cut out for you.
Yes, we do.
So, unfortunately, that's the end of our time for today. No.
I know.
But you can go visit him at his table for the rest of the afternoon. He will be glad to take, pictures and sign.
Yeah, and Jess, are you around somewhere? Or did she duck out? Jessica? Anyone? Bueller? Anyway. No, she's got a bunch of the cards that talk about the Insider website that might be interesting to you. And yeah, it's a great way, like the cool thing, like this woman here that's one of our insiders said, like, we're open. We answer questions. We talk to people, things like that. We're not trying to, obviously if it's something that happened that hasn't aired on the TV show yet, we can't really discuss that because we have non-disclosures as far as that goes. But, we're very transparent in what we share and we try to make it, we're not looking to hide things. We want the information out there. So, for sure.
Well, we appreciate it. Let's give a round of applause.
Thank you all. Thank you guys.